Mia Carter had always been unlucky in love. In the streets of Riverton, it seemed like every single man she met was either lying, cheating, or just downright strange. Online dating hadn't helped either. Her inbox was full of men with suspiciously perfect profile pictures, or ones who insisted on discussing their exes far too soon. But all of that changed the day she met Ethan Hale. Ethan wasn't like the rest. He was charming in a quiet, confident way. His smile seemed genuine, his laughter warm and contagious. He was a doctor, for heaven's sake, working at Riverton General Hospital. He was everything Mia had ever hoped for. When they first met at a small cafe in the streets of the city, the connection was instant. They talked for hours, sharing stories and laughing as if they'd known each other for years. Mia had finally hit the jackpot. Her friends were thrilled for her, some even envious. "You found the perfect man," her best friend Julie had exclaimed, and Mia agreed. Everything about Ethan seemed too good to be true. Yet, in the back of her mind, something felt off. The city of Riverton was on edge. Over the past few months, a string of brutal murders had taken place, each more gruesome than the last. The victims were all young women, all found in their apartments, and all had one thing in common: they had been dating a mystery man before their deaths. The police were baffled. The killer left no trace, no clues, no fingerprints. The media had dubbed him the Phantom, and the fear was palpable. Women across the city were canceling dates, locking their doors, and watching their backs. But Mia wasn't worried. She was dating Ethan Kind, caring, wonderful Ethan. He couldn't possibly be involved in something like this, right? Still, every time she heard about the latest murder on the news, Mia couldn't help but feel a chill run down her spine. What if the Phantom was closer than anyone realized? What if he was someone no one expected? One evening, while Ethan was making dinner in Mia's apartment, she noticed something strange. Ethan had left his phone on the counter, and when it buzzed, Mia glanced at the screen. A message from someone named A popped up. "Can we meet tonight? Same place." Mia's stomach twisted. Who was A? And why did Ethan seem so secretive about it? When she asked him casually about the message, he brushed it off with a smile. "Oh, just a friend from work. I help her with some medical stuff on the side." It was a reasonable explanation, but something about the way he said it made Mia's skin crawl. Why was he lying? And why was he so calm about it? The next few weeks were filled with small, unsettling moments. Ethan would disappear for hours without explanation. His phone would buzz late at night, and he would always step outside to take the call. He never talked about his work at the hospital anymore. And when Mia tried to ask, he would quickly change the subject. The doubts in her mind began to grow. One rainy afternoon, Mia was at home, flipping through the channels on the TV when a news broadcast caught her attention. "The Phantom strikes again. 4th victim found in Riverton apartment." The reporter's voice was serious, the details chilling. The latest victim had been found just 2 blocks from Mia's apartment. The police were urging women to be cautious, to report anything suspicious. Mia felt a cold sweat on her brow. Could Ethan be hiding something from her? Could he be the phantom? Determined to prove herself wrong, Mia decided to dig deeper. One evening, while Ethan was asleep, she quietly slipped his phone from the nightstand. She knew she shouldn't invade his privacy, but her gut told her something was terribly wrong. She scrolled through his messages, looking for the one from A that had bothered her weeks ago. But when she found it, what she discovered made her heart stop. Meet me at the usual spot, tonight at 9. There were dozens of similar messages, all from the same mysterious A. Each one was vague, but they all suggested secret meetings late at night. And then Mia found something worse, a photo. A photo of the latest victim, taken just days before her murder. Mia's hands shook as she stared at the screen. How did Ethan have this? Why did he have this? The room seemed to close in on her. She had to get out. She had to leave. But before she could move, she heard Ethan stir behind her. Mia. His voice was groggy, confused. What are you doing? Mia quickly dropped the phone, her heart racing. I couldn't sleep, she stammered, trying to sound normal. I was just checking the time. Ethan's eyes narrowed, but he didn't say anything. Instead, he reached for his phone and glanced at the screen. For a moment, there was silence. Then he smiled. That same charming smile that had swept her off her feet. But now, it felt wrong, forced. Come back to bed, he said softly. It's late. Mia couldn't stay silent any longer. She needed answers. The next day, she contacted Detective Sarah Blake, the lead investigator on the Phantom case. She hesitated at first, unsure if she was doing the right thing. What if she was wrong about Ethan? What if this was all just a terrible misunderstanding? But deep down, Mia knew she couldn't ignore her gut any longer. Detective Blake listened carefully as Mia recounted everything: the late-night calls, the mysterious messages, the photo. When Mia finished, the detective's face was grim. We've been watching Ethan Hale for weeks, she admitted, but we don't have enough evidence to arrest him. Not yet. We need more. Mia's blood ran cold. They had been watching him. Did that mean they suspected him too? That night, Mia returned home, her mind racing. She couldn't confront Ethan. Not yet. Not until the police had more evidence. But every moment she spent with him felt like walking on the edge of a cliff. Ethan, for his part, seemed oblivious to her growing fear. He continued to act like the perfect boyfriend, cooking her dinner, taking her out on dates, even surprising her with flowers. But every time he touched her, Mia felt a shiver run down her spine. She was living with a man who might be a killer, and he had no idea that she knew. The next few days were a blur of tension and fear. Mia barely slept, always listening for any sign that Ethan might be onto her. She kept her phone close, ready to call Detective Blake at a moment's notice. But then, one night, everything came crashing down. Mia woke up in the middle of the night to the sound of Ethan whispering on the phone. His voice was low, urgent. She couldn't make out the words, but she knew something was wrong. Quietly, she slipped out of bed and crept towards the door. But before she could get far, Ethan's voice cut through the force. Mia, where do you think you're going? She froze, her heart pounding in her chest. Ethan stepped into the light, his eyes cold and calculating. You've been snooping, haven't you? Mia's blood ran cold. He knew. Before Mia could react, Ethan lunged at her, grabbing her by the arm. You should have minded your own business, he snarled, his charming facade completely gone. Mia struggled, fear coursing through her veins. She had to get away. She had to escape, but Ethan was too strong. Just as she thought it was over, a loud crash echoed through the apartment. The door burst open and Detective Blake stormed in, gun drawn. "Ethan Hale, you're under arrest," she shouted. Ethan released Mia, his face contorting with rage. But before he could make a move, the detective's officers had him pinned to the ground. Mia collapsed, tears streaming down her face. It was over. The nightmare was finally over. Weeks later, Mia sat in a cafe, sipping her coffee as she watched the news. Ethan Hale, the man she had once thought was perfect, had been convicted of multiple murders. The Phantom's reign of terror was over. But Mia knew she would never be the same. She had come face to face with true evil, and it had nearly destroyed her. As she left the cafe, she glanced over her shoulder, half expecting to see someone watching her. But there was no one, only shadows in the dark. And for the first time in weeks, Mia felt safe again.